Alright, we have a 2015 Toyota Corolla with a 1ZR engine. Right, the customer complaint is that there noise coming from the engine bay, right? But it's only happening on the cold startup, right? Okay, folks, what up? Welcome to another diagnostic video by DJ. Alright, so we have a 2015 Toyota Corolla with a 1ZR engine. Right, customer complaint is that there's noise coming from the engine bay, but only on cold startup, right? After a while, it tends to go away. But she also noticed that it comes and goes, right? Sometimes you hear it, sometimes you don't, right? So it's getting louder every time she heard, but she had it checked out and she still didn't find out what the issue is, right? So she's wondering if it's possible if I can diagnose it for them, all right? And basically she said the noise can be heard ever so often, but once it starts, it go away, right? You may be wondering where I'm at. I'm in the vehicle, but it's extremely hot today, so I just got the visor up. Okay, so let's go in the hood, do a visual check before we start up, and see what's good. I mean, inspect the belt. Probably make sure that the AC is off, stuff like that is not coming from the AC compressor. So let's go in the hood and see what's good. All right, so we got a small window that we gotta take full advantage of, right? So I gotta ensure that the belt is intact, that it's not looking like it's worn. All right, everything looking good. I'm not seeing any kind of filings, from any of the pulleys or something like that. So that's good, right? I gotta also ensure that the compressor is off. So let me see. This is definitely the ones that I was correct. All right, so let's ensure that the compressor is off, right? Everything is intact, right? We don't have anything is loose, right? So let me make sure that's good. Okay, so the AC is off, right? So everything is looking good, right? The belt is intact. So let me get my equipment, and hook it up close as possible to the pulleys. All right, and we're gonna start this vehicle up and see, if we could get, a capture. Okay, so this is one of my NVH method of testing, right? So I got some chassis air clamps, right? So I'm gonna hook it up to my scope. I'm going to place these noise detection probes, at certain places on the engine that's subject to noise upon startup, right? So we got 4 pulleys: the crank pulley, the water pump, the AC compressor, and the alternator. So I'll try to get as close as possible to the rotating parts to capture the noise, right? So these probes are highly sensitive, so they can pick up noises, basically a frequency, which I can use, the amplitude or the time detected where the noise is coming from, right? So yeah, that's what's up. So as I said, I'm going to put it as close as possible, to the pulleys that's rotating, right? So we can just get a capture, right? So we got to look for the amplitude of the waveform and the first response of each probe, right? So first thing I do is I make sure that it's working, right? So I just like to tap it right here, and you just got to make sure that it's, responding to you tapping it, right? So we're going to put this one on the crank pulley. So I got the blue waveform here, the red on the water pump, the green on the AC, and the yellow on the alternator, right? So I gotta put like, let's say 10 seconds on the screen, right? That's supposed to be enough for us to catch it, right? So yeah, let's make sure that it's working. Okay, so this is the blue. You see I'm getting a response. Yeah, all right, so that's good. Okay, so with everything set up, as I mentioned before, I got the blue waveform on the crank pulley, or close to the crank pulley. I got the red on the water pump. I also got the green on the compressor, and I also got the, the yellow on the alternator, right? So let's put some time here, right? I'm gonna put like 10 seconds. That's supposed to be enough. I doubt I'm gonna need all that. So let's crank this vehicle and see if we get that noise. Okay, so let's take a look at it and see what's good. Yeah, I'm not sure if the camera, was able to pick it up, right? But as I mentioned before, we did catch something. All right, so let's take the green off because it basically was real low. So we could take the AC compressor off. Okay, so let's take the blue as well because the blue is not as strong as the, the alternator and the water pump, right? So let's switch that off as well. We're gonna put this here so we could take the crank pulley off And if it was a crank pulley, you would have been hearing that, you know, for excessive time, right? And it would have been making noise, you know, a lot more than it is right now. All right, so it's between the alternator and the water pump, right? So let's zoom into the water pump here. Okay, let's put a ruler on this. Let's see exactly how much voltage was made after that noise. I got what, about 700 millivolts, which is a high spike, right? Let's compare that to the alternator. Basically, the alternator was quiet at first startup. I could just go right here, and it was like 200 and 300 millivolts, which is not much. So that's letting me know that we definitely have to go after the water pump, right? All right, it's that simple, right? So we was able to use the scope to determine where the noise is coming from. So I do have a direction. So I'm going to remove the belt, spin the pulley, you know, take a listen, and see exactly if I'm still getting that low squeal, you know. But it's really low, so you can't really make it out, right? So let me talk to the customer and see what she like to do. You know, I'm going to make a recommendation that she replace the coolant while we there and this water pump. So let me get to it. Okay, so I can barely hear the noise, so I doubt you'll be able to get it, right? So as I'm touching and spinning this pulley, I'm hearing like a, you know, a small little squeal, right? So I believe I'm on the right track, right? So I discussed it with the customer, and I'm going to replace the water pump. I got the okay. All right, so I'm going to head to the part place, you know, come back with some fresh coolant and, you know, best water pump that I could put on, right? Okay, so I just got back to the parts store, right? So I got the coolant, I got the water pump, right? This is the best water pump I got, right? The GMB, which is OE recommended aftermarket water pump. It comes with the pulley and the bolts, right? So let's put this in. Okay, yeah, and that should take care of this noise. Okay, so I'm gonna see if I can get you to hear this noise I'm hearing. Right, as I said, man, it's gonna be extremely difficult, but with the noise in the background, but let's see if we can get it to happen. All right, so it's the same pump, same style, same everything. Let's spin this one and hear the sound. All right, so I got everything set back up the way we had it. All right, we got the blue on the crank pulley, the red is on the water pump, the yellow is on the alternator, and the green is on the compressor. Let's start the scope up. Okay, yeah, what else am I missing? I gotta make sure that, you know, anything not touching. Let's tap this next to the alternator. Let's take a look. I'm expecting to see the yellow. Yes, I do. See the yellow waveform kicks right there. All right, so let's check another pulley and ensure that is, you know, is that. I need to go close to the, which one I'm gonna pick next. Let's go to the compressor. Okay. All right, so you definitely see the, no, that's the water pump, sorry. Okay, let's go to the compressor. I'm expecting to see the green. Yeah, I'm seeing that as well. Let's go to the next to the crank pulley. I'm expecting to see the blue, you know, waveform kick. Yeah, and you definitely see it right there. All right, so hold on, did I miss the compressor? Hold on. Yeah, I didn't catch the compressor. All right, yeah, and I gotta make sure that my probes is hooked up, because, you know, you don't want to start and then it's not, you know, connected to anything, or, you know, glitching. So you always gotta test your equipment. Let's tap the close to the compressor. Let's see what's good. I'm seeing the alternator. All right, so let's start the scope up. All right, and see exactly if we can get this noise to occur again. Okay, so let's start the vehicle up and see if we hear the noise. Let me get the camera close. Let's switch off. So I'm not hearing the noise like before. So I'm definitely gonna call this a fix. Okay, so don't forget to hit and like, subscribe, share, comment. Leave a comment down in the box if you like these kind of videos, right? All right, so we was able to use the scope to determine where the noise is coming from. We didn't have to tear apart this timing cover like the last mechanic recommend. Until next time, you know how it is. Take it easy. Be safe out there. Peace.